Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the virtual town hall regarding residential life. I'm Derek Stanfield, your representative to the Association of Student Governments of the state of North Carolina for this upcoming school year, and it is my pleasure to announce that I'll be moderating this event. Tonight, you'll hear from the Department of Residential Life regarding housing updates and the various measures they are implementing to keep us all safe upon returning in the fall. Additionally, they will answer many of the questions that we have already received. Thank you to all who have submitted questions in advance for this event. Please keep in mind a few protocols for tonight. Video has been turned off for everyone except for the panelists. This means you will only be able to see the panelists throughout this town hall. All attendees have been muted to help the program move smoothly without interruptions. For those that did not get a chance to submit questions beforehand, you will be able to submit questions during the event using the chat feature. For those viewing on Facebook Live, please submit your questions through the commenting feature. If we are unable to get to your questions tonight, please submit them to NCCU Life at nccu.edu, and we will send a response. This evening's town hall will be recorded and posted to NCCU Life YouTube page to rewatch at a later time. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Vice Chancellor of the Division of Student Affairs, Dr. Angela Coleman.
Good evening, Eagles, and thank you for joining us again this evening in our series of student town halls that we are hosting in the Division of Student Affairs. This evening's virtual town hall is designed to share our current residential life plan of action for fall 2020. So thank you to those of you who submitted questions in advance of today's town hall. We will be using your questions this evening to guide the majority of the format for today's presentation. Tonight's town hall will also help to answer many of the questions surrounding housing that you have posed to us in some of our earlier town halls and through email as well as social media. So I encourage those of you who did not get an opportunity to submit questions beforehand via the registration link to use our chat function and comment features here in our WebEx meeting this evening. Please know, just like Mr. Stanfield indicated, that while some questions cannot be answered at this time, we will continue to do our best to provide you with clear answers as well as any planned updates as we continue to move closer to the fall semester. As you know, the health and safety of our Eagle family is and will continue to be our top priority. So prior to beginning this evening's town hall, I did want to just break some comments, particularly regarding some new information that I've learned about our housing assignments for the fall. And it is my understanding from talking with my staff that we do have several students who have canceled their housing assignments for the fall. We have gone ahead and extended the cancellation period. We extended it initially from June 30th to July 15th. And then you'll be hearing later on in our Q&A portion that we've extended that again to July 22nd to make sure we are aligned with your academic schedule so that students can make informed decisions about what works for them. Now, with that being said, my understanding is that there are a number of students who are planning to still relocate to Durham for the fall, but are looking at off-campus housing. Again, I want to remind you students that the reason why we are opening 2 new residence halls in the fall via our P3 relationship, our public-private partnership, was because we heard your outcry several years ago for continuing students, our upperclassmen, juniors, and seniors who wanted to stay on campus, and we didn't have enough housing for you. So it's a little concerning for me. I will say, be honest, a little sad that we're now at a position where we are about to have 792 new beds on campus, beautiful beds, apartment style, granite counters. I've walked through the halls in the last 2 weeks, top-notch facilities for our students. And that now we have students who want to move off campus. It's unfortunate and sad. So while, of course, you have the opportunity, it's your option to move off campus. But I do want to stress again, students and parents, if you're on here, you need to be aware that we are in the city of Durham, and Durham is still Durham. And it is, we've had issues in the city of Durham as it relates to gun violence. We've had challenges, as many of you students know this, with some of our apartment complexes in the area and losing students and losing Eagles, losing members of our Eagle family with tragedies that have happened at off-campus apartments. So I want you to understand that moving off campus adds new safety concerns that on-campus students don't have to think about. So if you are going to be looking at off-campus facilities, you need to make sure that your dwelling is safe and that you do your research. So again, just wanted to make sure that you are reminded about off-campus safety and what that may look like for you. And those are concerns that students on campus won't have to be necessarily concerned with. So at this time, I wanted to go ahead and introduce Chief Damon Williams, who he can bring probably a little different perspective and just bring a little commentary from the angle that I'm coming in, where I'm really imploring students to consider maintaining your assignments on campus. I know everyone is fearful. We affirm that in terms of the concern about what happened in the spring, where we had to abruptly end the semester and we had to upheave a lot of students. And I know that was a difficult process for you all. There was a lot of upheaval that happened in your lives, but we have come up with a plan for the fall for our operations. And right now we are planning to be fully operational and to have you on campus and welcome you back to campus. So, I'm just gravely concerned again about some of these apartment complexes in terms of their management and in terms of the violence that is happening out in our community. So Chief Williams.
Well, first, let me say hello to all of our Eagle family, those of you who are coming and those of you who are returning. I'm excited to be here with you for the next semester. And what I want to say about that is that I want everybody to remember that Durham is in a very large metropolitan area. And I think we all know what's associated with large areas and things outside of our campus. On campus, the campus police department can do its best to ensure your students' safety. But when your students live off campus, if your students are not here on campus, or if you live in one of our apartment complexes, we essentially have no control over what happens in those complexes. We do our best to try to stay informed about what's happening to our students off campus and what's happening in some of these surrounding complexes. But to ensure your safety, it's always better if we can control that environment. We can keep you informed about what's going on in the surrounding environment. That is our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is to help you be safe. And I know as a parent myself, when I send my student off to college, I want to ensure his safety. And that's what the NCCU Police Department is here to do. So I want you to be very careful when you're looking to stay off campus. Do your research like the Vice Chancellor said. It's very important. If you have any questions or you're curious, call the police department. We'll provide you with any insight that we can. But please remember that we don't control anything that happens off of this campus. Our job is to ensure your safety while you're here on this campus, and that's our ultimate goal. So please keep that in mind for those of you who have chosen to live off campus. Not that is a bad option in some cases, but for the most part, the flow of information is sometimes out of our hands when you stay off campus. So keep that in mind when you're choosing where you want to live and your safety when you're at home. Thank you, Vice Chancellor.
Okay. Thank you, Chief Williams. So at this time, I want to take a brief moment again to personally thank the many members of the NCCU faculty and staff for their hard work and service on serving as panelists for many town halls that we've been having with our students, as well as their work on our fall continuity of operations subcommittees. We've been working very hard and diligently to come up with our operations and our plans to ensure that you all are healthy and safety while still maintaining an exceptional student experience while you're here on campus with us. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and welcome our Executive Director of Residential Life, Mr. James Leach, who will introduce your panelists for this evening's virtual town hall, and then we will move into the presentation. So Mr. Leach.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Greetings and good afternoon and good evening to all of our Eagles out there. We are so happy that you made the choice to learn more about residential life and how it's going to look for this upcoming August. So I won't take a lot of time in introducing people, but for this particular section, Mr. Hartfield, who is our Assistant Director for Residential Life, will present on a section. Miss Erica Estep, who is our Associate Director, will present on a section. And Mrs. Joy Hartfield, who is the Assistant Vice Chancellor and Dean of Students, will provide some insight as well. And so the goal is to go through this presentation and open up the floor for questions, because that is really where the rubber meets the road for this presentation. We don't want to be a bunch of talking heads giving you data that you may have already heard. So we would like to hear from you and your thought-provoking questions, and so we can provide the answers. Next slide, please. So as we talked about, we do have a plan, and Dr. Cohen mentioned a lot of people played a role in this plan. So this is not a plan that was made in a silo by Residential Life. And so I do want to say at 6:10 p.m. on 7/14/2020, this plan could change based on tracking of the pandemic. So this is what we have in place now, and I am respectfully asking you to be flexible if these plans change, okay? And so the goal is for students to be safe. And so we put some plans in place, like students with pre-existing health concerns can certainly apply for a single room. So we are well aware that this environment is kind of taxing on some students based on their health conditions. So in order to do that, it's probably part of the question and answer. You would reach out to our accessibility department for that. We always talk about the social distancing, right? And so if you play sports, you know, you practice because, you know, when you repeat a certain action, you become very good at it, right? And so, and it becomes second nature. So we want you to feel like we're drilling this into you because we want to be second nature to you. 6 feet distancing, that is paramount. Okay, wearing your mask or face coverings, that is crucial. So you're gonna have roommates and you're gonna have suite mates, right? But they are treated as family units. But at the same time, we are expecting you to focus on keeping as much distance as you can from your roommate, okay? On our end, we're reducing the number of students that are in our traditional halls, again, social distancing. Reducing occupancy for community bathrooms while increasing cleaning frequency, social distancing, and health-related for cleaning. So again, I'm drilling this into you because we want it to be second nature to you. Frequent reminders of proper hand hygiene for COVID-19 prevention. Goes without saying, right? But sometimes you have to state the obvious. So we all know, we've all heard, wash your hands, wash your hands. It's crucial. Okay, so we want to make sure that you get that. Sometimes you have to state the obvious, as I said before, and that is the obvious that I'm stating. Visitation, yes. We all know part of the campus experience is that you have the opportunity to make friends that will last you for a lifetime, right? And so we don't want to put a pause on visitation, but for the safety of our students, faculty, and staff, it is crucial that we do that. And so we will be suspending visitation for this fall 2020. We may have some exceptions for our parents and guardians, however, though. Social distancing footprint, again, drilling this into your head about how important it is for us to keep social distancing at the forefront of our thought processes. Installation of desk shields and desk doors at all our workstations. Again, we're trying to make sure we provide somewhat of a barricade to make sure that we are all safe. And again, I will say this, we can put all these plans together, but unless we get the buy-in from your peers, it could be all for naught. So we want to make sure that you understand what's going on and take this matter very seriously, because it is serious. But at the same time, we're trying to put all these precautions in place to make sure that you can still have a great experience based on the conditions in which we're living. In our common areas, again, we know that people like to hang out in the common areas, right? So we are going to have to limit the numbers of seatings that we have in our common areas. And in some cases, we're going to have to require reservations for like the computer labs and maybe even the common areas. We don't want to totally close off everything, but we still need to put practices in place that will keep us in line with social distancing. I talked about the face covering, and I know you all about the swag. And some of these face coverings now, they are hot. So be on the lookout for maybe even a contest of the flyest face mask or face covering. So maybe we'll come up with something like that to incentivize our students how to wear their face coverings and masks. Kind of talked about the reconfiguration of seating in common areas. And we already know how people like to stand at the elevator waiting for the elevators, but we will have a capacity limit placed on that as well. And at this time, we're talking about two, limited to 2 people on that. Cleanliness, I could say something about the cleanliness, but I don't want to offend anybody. We know that's next to godliness, but not to offend anybody. If I did, my apology. So we want to make sure that we are providing clean and safe environments for our students. And to do so, we're trying to implement after every event, 30 minutes or so, we kind of going in, cleaning these high touch areas, and removing anything that could, draw attention to students, like the magazines. Like now the NCCU 9 magazine, we might have to leave that on there and place that out there as a electronic product, but we will make sure that we remove all items that could lend to a bad outcome. Next slide. And at this time, as you know, students, you have already begun to place your assignment, your registration for coming to campus. And Mr. Hartfield, our assistant director, will definitely enlighten us of what he's seen at this point, and maybe can answer some questions or address questions before you even ask them in his presentation. So again, students, the main goal is to stay safe and make sure that we come and have a wonderful experience based on the conditions in which we're living in. Mr. Hartfield.
Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Mr. Frank Hartfield Jr. I'm Assistant Director of Residential Life here at NCCU, and I'm going to go over a little bit of the move-in fall plan, and go over a little bit of the quick hits that I've been seeing on the back end so I can help you all out. So first, I definitely want to thank you all for being patient as we roll out this process, because we want to make sure that we create a safe and secure protocol for you all so you can feel okay moving into the halls. And so with that, as you see, it's by appointment only. And so what you will have to do is log into the My EOL My Housing, and in your room assignments portion, you will see a check-in time. You will be able to select out of 5 times, and it will be in a 2-hour increment. The most important thing about that is that it's only 10 people per floor per time. We did that to make sure that we are maximizing social distancing and we are making things safe for you all. Now, we are asking that you all maximize the use of drop and go. And we ask that because it's going to be several things that you all are going to want to move in, but we want to make sure that you all move in those things early. And so to make sure that on move-in day, it could be a smooth process and you're not bringing in so many items. Now, 1 student per person will have a helper. Now with that helper will get screened along with you, and then you all will be responsible for completing that screen the night before. Now, once you click on an appointment time, you will get 3 notification emails. The first email will come right after you select your time. The second email will come 5 days before you are coming to campus. So please make sure to read that one. And then the third one is the most important, as a third letter will come the night before you move in, and that will have the link for you to screen. So please make sure to check your nccu.edu email frequently so you can get those items. Now, like my colleague said, all face coverings will be in the building at all times, and we have maximized a contactless check-in process. So within the residential halls, you will see a process that's suited for that community to make sure, again, that this is a safe and secure process for you all. Now, the most important thing are the move-in dates. When you are checking your times, you will see that August 4th to the 23rd are different days and times allotted to your hall. We did that to maximize the different social distancing so we're not crowding the place all at once. So with that, we have early arrival population of first-year students who will be moving in August 4th through the 14th. So all my first-year students and early populations, you will see those dates correlate with your selection appointment times. Next, if my students that move into the brand new halls, George Street and Austin Avenue, you all be moving between August 17th through the 23rd, and you all will be able to pick times within that time frame. Now, if you have any type of extenuating circumstances and you need assistance in picking a different time or registering for a different date, please email us so we could see what we could do to help you all out. We have a different process for you all, and we've been making those accommodations as they come. So again, please make sure to check your emails, check your notifications, your confirmation letters, and contact us if you have any questions. Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Hartfield. At this time, our Associate Director, Ms. Erica Eastep, will talk to us about the protocol we have in place for isolation and quarantine.
Yes, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to our town hall again. We have identified one of our residence halls that will be offline this fall and spring. We have identified Martha Street Apartments as an appropriate residential space in the event of needed isolation or quarantine for any of our students. There is limited space in Martha Street, but we do have a bathroom, private bathroom facilities stocked with a thermometer, sanitizing wipes, tissues, soap, hand sanitizer, and toiletries. The spaces will be labeled externally with signage that states restricted access but does not state the reason. For support, we are offering our students counseling services, as well as the Office of Spiritual Development and Dialogue will be available remotely for that support. Transportation services will be made available to and from the location if medical care is needed. So if you need to be transported from one residence hall to Martha Street Apartments, transportation is available. Custodial and maintenance staff and live-in professionals will be provided with and required to wear appropriate PPE when entering those spaces. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Mrs. Joy Hartfield, and I serve as your ABC and Dean of Students. I hope that you are having a safe and healthy summer as you prepare to return in the fall. I am so looking forward to welcoming you back to campus. With all this information that you have heard, I wanted to take a moment to just talk to you, okay? The reason for all of this. So the reason for this conversation, the town halls, the social media campaigns, for these guidelines is to create a safe environment that is conducive to holistic student experience that you can look back on and be proud of and grateful for as you earn your degree. All of this is a shared responsibility. So the safety of the nest at all times, but particularly right now, that's a shared responsibility. Housing staff, the deans, the faculty, the staff, we can't do this alone. You have to be the driving force behind safety. This means you following the guidelines, even when you're tempted to break them. This means you checking your friends when they want to break the rules, and especially when they want to convince you to also break the rules. This means speaking up when you see something that is out of place. That can make all the difference. So please keep in mind that this is a shared responsibility. We are all here protecting the nest and taking care of one another. And your safety is our responsibility, it's your responsibility, and we have to do that together, okay? And the choice of compliance. So everyone always has a choice. I have a choice, you have a choice. And so know that in order to keep the campus safe and to remain a resident of the university housing, you have to comply with the guidelines that are put in place. So I want you to be intentional about knowing what you can and cannot do and following those guidelines, and know that those will be taken extremely seriously. And so those who choose not to follow those guidelines are endangering others, students, faculty, staff, and yourself. You'll be then communicating that your desire is to vacate your residential assignment. And so know that, again, that you always have a choice. And my hope is that if you choose to stay on campus in the fall, that you also choose to remain a campus resident by following the guidelines. Again, I look forward to seeing your beautiful faces in the fall and seeing your beautiful masks come with the creativity. I look forward to it. Please stay safe, familiarize yourself with the community standards, and give me a call if you need anything. I look forward to seeing you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is William Clem. I'm the Assistant Vice Chancellor for Student Engagement, and I have Ms. Watkins working with me this evening, and we're going to be going through the Q&A. The first part, we will go through all of the submitted questions, the questions that you submitted in advance, and the second part, we will dive into the questions that you've submitted this evening. First question, when is the day that we will actually move in and stay? Answer. Move-in dates are August 4th through the 23rd. Students will select an appointment date to move in. Students are able to remain on campus once they move in. Students will not have to move in and leave campus after that move-in period. Next question, how do we apply for housing again? Answer, go to My EOL, then click on My Housing. You will be able to access the housing application under the drop-down task box labeled My Housing Apps and Forms. Another good question, is there a curfew? Currently, there is not a curfew. However, we will continue to monitor state local guidelines to determine if restrictions are needed. Again, monitoring state local guidelines. The university has to comply with state and local guidelines. So if Durham County or the state of North Carolina increases its restrictions, North Carolina Central will do the same. Ms. Watkins, would you like to take the next few?
Yes. So the next question is, where do I pay the $150 administration fee? The answer is, if you are a first-year student, the $159 refundable housing administrative fee is paid during the time you complete the housing application. If you are a first-year student and you currently do not have the $150, please send email to residentiallife@nccu.edu. Someone from our staff will follow up with you. If you are a continuing student, this fee is placed on your account and is paid when other charges are paid. The next question is, if a parent has two students, second and first year, in two different buildings, and they move in the same day? The answer is that may be possible. Such request should be submitted to residentiallife@nccu.edu. Our staff will follow up with you to determine an action plan. The next question is, what if I want to live at home? The answer is students can cancel housing without any penalty up until July 22nd. Cancellations after July 22nd will carry an $800 charge or a hall rate per diem charge, whichever is greater. For example, if you stay in Eagleton and you cancel August 30th, you will be charged $800. But let's say if you decide to cancel on September 30th, you will be charged for approximately 56 days times the per diem of 23, which equals $1,288. This fee will be modified from obligations to students to a semester rate for canceling. An example provided, this student would have been charged $2,800 for the same number of days. If you are planning to live off campus, please review the crime statistics as the following. Mr. Clem.
Thank you. Next good question. Students with health problems want to room alone and maybe have suite mates. Yes, I read that. Students with medical concerns that may require special housing accommodations will need to contact Student Accessibility Services. Their link is provided. All requests for housing accommodations or exceptions must be submitted through Student Accessibility Services. You cannot contact Residential Life. They're just going to forward you back to that office. Next question. So both of my parents can't come to move in. Unfortunately, for health and safety and social, I'm sorry, let me read that correctly. So both of my parents can't come to move in. Unfortunately, for health and safety social distancing best practices, only one person will be allowed to assist the student moving in. Just a little bit of clarification, only one person will be allowed to come into the residence hall with you. We understand that other people may travel with you because, especially if you're a first year and first generation student, this might be a family affair. The family can ride up with you, only one can come into the residence halls. However, when it comes to the health screening that you're going to be required to complete prior to, if anyone is unable to clearly say that they have not come in contact or have not cleared the health screening process, that entire vehicle, no one will be allowed on campus. So keep that in mind. Please make sure you're checking. We don't want to hurt any feelings on the day of, because we know this can be an emotional time for some folks. So please, if you know that you're not well, or you've come in contact with someone who may be, have been diagnosed with COVID, please just don't come to campus so that we don't have to create an awkward situation. We want it to be a seamless process, and we want everybody to move in as quickly as possible. Next, is there a plan if there is a COVID-19 spike? The university has a continuity committee that will continue to closely monitor the pandemic conditions. As a result, the committee will advise on any needed adjustment based any state and federal regulations that may change. Ms. Watkins.
Will laundry rooms and washing machines be cleaned regularly? The answer is laundry rooms will be cleaned and disinfected daily. Can we request a single occupancy room without any previous health conditions? Student without previous health conditions can request a single room. However, priority is given to students with health conditions. How is social distancing going to work with a roommate? Roommates are treated as a family union. You do not need to wear a face covering while in your room. We encourage you to be intentional about creating distance when possible. If I choose to do online school from my house and move on campus in the spring, what is the process? The housing agreement is for an entire academic year. Therefore, if you cancel in the fall, you will have to reapply for the spring semester. Why did it take so long to provide information? Also, will the housing cancellation date be extended? We apologize for the delay, as we needed to receive proper guidance from various parties to ensure the safety of the students in NCCU community. The cancellation date has been extended to July 22nd, 2020. Mr. Clem.
Thank you. How will NCCU regulate who comes into the residence halls? How can we trust that all of these restrictions will be executed strictly? Students will only have card access to the residence hall that they reside in. Hall staff will perform rounds to monitor who is in the hall. For safety purposes, our department is strongly encouraging that you help police and enforce that your peers are following restrictions. When applicable, the Dean of Students will address students who do not comply. Question: if my roommate leaves for the weekend, will he or she need to be quarantined for 14 days before returning to the room? Students will not be quarantined for any off-campus activities unless medically necessary. Will laundry rooms and washing machines be cleaned regularly? Oh, we got a duplicate, so I'm gonna skip that one. Can we request a single occupancy room without a previous health condition? Looks like we got a couple of duplicates. If I decide to live on campus, will housing application open again? Yes, the housing application will reopen on tomorrow, July 15th. That will be your opportunity to go back in and request a housing assignment again. And I believe that's the end of the immediate Q&A. So from here, I will start going through some of the questions that you submitted in the chat. And I've got a couple of them. I'm just trying to make sure it's nothing that has already been asked. I'll throw this one out to Mr. Leach.
Yes.
Just reading the questions. The chat is moving quickly. Who would I contact to make sure I can stay on campus if there's a reason why I cannot come back for reasons of home problems? Did you understand that one, Mr. Leach?
I think I understand that question. So you can start by just emailing us at residential_life@nccu.edu. And then we will actually reach out to you, and we may involve our Dean of Students to ascertain more information. And then we will definitely take it from there. But the initial process needs to start with that email.
Okay.
I'd like to chime in too, Mr. Clem.
Sure.
So in advance, we are asking that students let us know in the Office of the Dean of Students if you have some extenuating circumstances within your household. So if you are have housing insecurity, or if you do not have a permanent home, or if there's a circumstance that prevents you from going to what would be your permanent home for an extreme case, then please reach out to us ahead of time. Meaning now. We are registering our students who identify as being homeless in order to help them with long-term planning, so that moving off campus in December when it's time to go home, or November this year when it's time to go home, or spring break, it shouldn't be a surprise if we already kind of know things are going on. We want to help you plan for that ahead of time, as we already know the times that the halls close, and if there is an emergency and we do have to not be on campus kind of suddenly, we want to make sure that we have plans in place and are getting you resources ahead of time so that you're able to make a smooth transition to a safe environment as well.
So, Mr. Hartfield, I'm going to throw some questions out to you. I know we mentioned it early, but could you, one, reiterate the drop and go dates? And also, question, may you please touch on those 3 phases of correspondence to the students again for the move-in process?
Sure. So the drop and go dates will be July 31st and August 1st. So again, drop and go dates will be July 31st and August 1st. And then the correspondence for all the notifications when it comes to selecting an appointment will come in 3 phases. The first phase will be the next day after you select your appointment. Second phase will be 5 days before you come to campus. And then the last phase would be the day before you come to campus. So that's the night before you come to campus, which will have the link for you to complete the screening for your help.
And got one more for you, Mr. Hartfield, that came in. What day will drop and go times open on the housing page?
Yes, drop and go times will open next Wednesday on the My Housing page. And I'll make sure to put that day in the chat as well.
So that means next Wednesday, 2 things are happening. The cancellation deadline as well as the drop and go dates will be posted. Thank you for that, sir. Frank, you got all the questions right now. Can we change our move-in time if we already selected it, but have not confirmed it?
Yes, you can change your move-in time. All you have to do is log in to My Housing, and you'll see a little drop-down screen. And in that drop-down screen, you can reselect the time. Make sure to press save or log out of the whole web page, and then it will actually will send you another confirmation letter the next day to make sure that time has changed.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Leach, and this might come back to you, Dr. Coleman, as well. Is it certain we'll be able to come back on campus, because that's why a lot of people opt out of housing? No certainty that we'll be able to come back.
So yes, everything right now, all our plans that we've been working so hard on is to welcome your beautiful faces back to campus. And so we are moving forward with welcoming everyone back. Again, if there are any changes, as we are under the UNC system, and of course, you know, the state of North Carolina governance, you will be, of course, the first to know. But right now, everything is on schedule in terms of classes, dining, and housing. So I think there's still some discussions about fall athletics. I think those decisions will be coming down from the conferences this week. You know, we're in the MEAC conference, but other than that, we are ready to go. And that's, you know, all the information that we have right now. I don't have any indicators to show otherwise.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Mr. Hartfield, coming back at you one more time. As far as the drop and go, who will have access to the drop and go?
Yes, so all the residents of North Carolina will have access to the drop and go. It will be for returners and new students this year. So again, all residents of North Carolina will have access to the drop and go. It will be for returner and new students this year. Thank
you, sir. Mr. Leach, or actually I'll throw this to Mr. Leach or Miss Estep or Miss Lori Blake Reed, that you're out there as well. What is the procedure for community bathrooms for Eagleson? I'm just gonna, whoever wants to grab that one.
I can grab that one. Hello and good afternoon, good evening, Eagles. So our community bathrooms in Eagleston Hall will be modified so that sink, showers, and restrooms will be utilized while we are keeping in mind our social distancing for everyone's safety and health.
Thank you. And just can you elaborate a little bit on the cleaning procedure for community bathrooms?
So our community bathrooms will be cleaned throughout the day, Monday through Friday. We will also have an evening crew, which we normally do not have under when we were not under the COVID predicament right now. So we will have an evening shift that will also be coming in to take care of high touch areas from the hours of, I believe, 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. Robert Toll, I will ask if he could confirm that for me.
Yes, that's the selected time that we're working on getting a crew in here now. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Mr. Leach or whomever on the Residence Life team, this is probably something we'll have to work on, but when will we be able to see the inside of residence halls such as Alston and George Street? They want to see it before they buy it.
So I was actually responding to that in the chat. We'll work to get the renderings of the outside and some type of photo for the inside as well. I think we already have that. I just got to follow back up on that and getting that. And we're actually in a gallery. Maybe we can pull something from our photo gallery that can kind of give students an idea of that. But trust and believe, Eagles, both halls are very, 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 very nice.
And another question along those same lines, do the suites have two keys? For example, one for the main residence hall and then one for the actual bedroom?
So yes, I did respond to that in the group chat, but there is one key that will provide entry into the suite area that is also keyed to your respective bedroom.
Okay. Dr. Ross Alexander, I'm going to throw this one out to you, or Dr. Long. There's a question, do we, I'm assuming students, have to be tested before coming to campus?
I answered that in the question and answer, but we ask you to follow whatever your recommendations of your primary care physician is. If your physician feels like you need to be tested, then absolutely you should be tested, but we are not requiring you to test prior to coming to campus.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hartfield, coming back at you. The question, when will housing be assigned so we can decide if we are wanting to stay by 7/22? And that's just what it says, I'm thinking. That might be someone who might not have received their assignments as yet, or may not know their assignments. Let me say it like that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe that might be from a first year student. So assignments are being made every day as vacancies arise, and also too as we work on consolidations for our male and female spaces. And so I recommend that you check your My Housing, as your assignment will pop up right there, and you'll be able to select your appointment time to move into. So we'll be making assignments there.
Okay. This question, I'll throw it up to the Vice Chancellor level, Dr. Coleman or Ms. Matheson. Question from a parent: if my daughter takes all classes online, is it true that she will still be responsible to pay for room and board? If so, why are students being penalized due to no fault of their own?
So I'm assuming the student is a freshman or sophomore. So yes, currently the university has in place an on-campus requirement for freshmen and sophomore students. There are certain exemptions for that we can share with the parent or student that would exempt a student from being required to live on campus. That is the BOT regulation.
Okay.
And the rationale, I'll just give a rationale behind that. Just the reality is that research shows, and we know for our students, that they do best when they are living on campus. and engaged in a community with their peers. So that is our best way to ensure that our freshmen and our sophomore, that we're front loading them with services and all the resources that we have available on the campus. If there are particular concerns, of course, because we know, this pandemic is a real situation, and, we affirm that, and we want to hear if there are special exceptions, then please be sure to reach out to Residential Life, or reach out to me directly via my email, angela.coleman@nccu.edu. I'll put it in the chat, and I'll put my phone number as well in there if you want to call me, and then we can talk about your concerns or your situation with your particular student.
Thank you. Ms. Estep, this one is for you. What day is training for Residence Life student employees, particularly desk assistants and resident assistants?
So that is the week of July 27th. They'll be arriving on Saturday, July 25th, and Sunday, July 26th.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pitch this one to Mr. Leach and Dean Hartfield. What are the rules for leaving campus and returning?
That kind of falls in line with the no curfew. You are at will to leave campus as you see fit. Currently, we don't have a curfew, so there is no rule.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Matherson, I'm gonna call on you for this next one. Question about dining. How will dining be now with limited capacity? As in, how will we ensure that each student will have the opportunity to get food?
So we do have a dining plan that's in place. All of our locations will be open. We will have reduced capacity for in-person seating in the main dining hall, but we will continue to offer the to-go options for all students. And so we will be extending the hours of operation for the times that we would typically have breakfast, lunch, and dinner to ensure that we're able to facilitate all students being able to get in the main dining facility, and then we will observe social distancing and the takeout options in all of our retail locations.
Thank you for that, ma'am. The questions are flowing, and I'm trying to give us a wide range of questions. This is another question that I'm going to throw to Dr. Ross Alexander. What qualifies as an extenuating circumstance or a co-op? What kind of documentation do you need? And this person is doing a good job of reading the housing agreement, and they're saying that those are the two reasons that students can cancel their housing without penalty after deadlines.
Can you give me that question one more time?
Sure. What qualifies as an extenuating circumstance or a co-op? What kind of documentation do you need? And Mr. Leach, you might need to chime in on this one.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a housing question for me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be totally transparent. I was reading the chat, and when you said Dr. Ross, I kind of.
Sure.
Could you please repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Fire fast and quick tonight. What qualifies as an extenuating circumstance or a co-op? What kind of documentation do you need? And they're quoting the housing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So sometimes students may participate in certain internships that will require them to be off campus. So if you have something that you feel like might qualify, please send that to us, and we can certainly take a look at that. So there's a wide range of stuff, and that we can even narrow down to a certain extent. But we're trying to be flexible with that language to give people the adequate opportunity to advance and I guess enhance their learning ability outside of NCCU.
I would say extenuating circumstance, if it's related to a medical condition, that would still go through our student accessibility services and be vetted there, and they will work with housing to make sure that the student gets taken care of.
I knew I was going to get you in there, Dr. Ross. Thank you for that. Mr. Leach, don't go anywhere. Will community bathrooms have a schedule for use by students? Also, will there be a minimum or maximum of how many people can use the shower and sink in the bathrooms?
Great question. Just today we started talking about that with Mrs. Laura Blake Reed. So stay tuned for that. We will update the campus on that. As if you will recall, when I mentioned at 610 on 714, this is the policy as it stands now. But as we are collecting more data, we would definitely tweak based on the safety of our students. So we did have a brief conversation about that today. So we may end up putting some restrictions on how many people can be in at one time other than what's already scheduled. So yes, great question, and we would definitely enlighten the campus on that.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
When it comes to communication, I strongly encourage students to check their housing information, THD, on a regular basis, because Residential Life pushes out a lot of notifications. So if there are any COVID-related updates specific to Residential Life, that information will be found in that location. We will also be sending information out through university email, so please stay, tuned into your university email accounts. But information will be shared on a regular basis. Well, information will be shared as updates are made available.
And ABC Clem, if I could add one piece to that, please, students, we only communicate to the NCCU email address. Every now and again, we get some stuff from Yahoo and Gmail. We will respond to it, but when we respond back out with notifications and information, we send it directly to your NCCU account.
Okay, another VC level question. Will NCCU be issuing refunds for housing in the event we have to leave campus early?
So that is actually something that is determined at the system level. That is not something that we actually can answer right now. So we know what the system and the state was able to do for this spring. So we could expect something similar, but we don't know. So NCCU will follow the guidelines that are outlined by the University of North Carolina system.
Thank you for that. Another question, it's a moving question, but I think I can handle this, Mr. Hartfield. How early should we arrive to campus when moving in due to having to do temperature checks and the health screening? We suggest a minimum of 30 minutes in advance. Usually the screening is a very quick in and out process. What makes it go smoothly is if you do the health screening questionnaire the night before. That is usually the longest part of the process. Also, what makes things move smoother is if you show up at your scheduled time. The good question that came up early, if a parent has more than one student here at the university, please share that information in advance. In order to maintain social distancing, we do not let people just show up, even if they're already in the same car, or if your friend, you guys were both in the same neighborhood and you're coming to campus. We need to know that you're coming in advance. We have to schedule everyone to maintain social distancing, so please keep that in mind. The health screening temperature check section can be done in less than 5 minutes. However, if there's a backup due to people coming unannounced or not having the information completed in advance, that does slow down the process. Let me throw this one out here. I'm not even sure how to answer that one, so let me do a little research first. As a senior, if you cancel your housing, will he or she be issued a refund? And I'll throw that to Mr. Leach.
If you are a senior, will you be, and you cancel housing, will you be issued a refund?
That's the question.
Okay. And so it kind of goes back to if you cancel before July 22nd, then your housing charge will be, you'll be refunded that full amount. Anything past that, you're getting into a per diem. So you would, if you don't stay the whole semester, you would only be charged from the days that you actually stay in the hall. So if your semester rate is $2,800 and you leave early, then we're not going to charge you the whole $2,800. So yes, you would be eligible for a refund, unless you are evicted. If you are evicted, then you're not eligible for any type of refund.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Leach and/or Mr. Hartfield, if students, juniors and seniors, have only online courses, is housing being revoked to lessen risk in upperclassmen dorms for those students taking face-to-face and hybrid classes?
It's a great question. The intent is not to revoke your housing because you have online classes. But if you are taking online classes, we strongly encourage you to send us an email to let us know so we can govern ourselves accordingly in terms of our preparations for that.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Ms. Estep, coming for you again. Have a question from, I am assuming this is for an RA. I will be in training for residential life, but my residence hall will not be ready, meaning Alston Avenue. Where will I be staying and how will I know when I can move into my room?
So Alston Avenue is scheduled to be open on August the 17th. So we're making concessions for Baines Hall for the RAs to be able to move into that facility temporarily.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Hartfield, if roommate assignments were to cancel housing, will they assign new roommates to the rooms?
And I did see that question popping up a lot in the chat, and I have been answering them. So a new roommate will be assigned to that room, yes.
Okay. Ms. Matherson, when will the cafeteria open?
So all of the dining locations, either the main dining hall or the retail locations, will open as of August 4th on the day that students begin to move in.
Dean Hartfield, coming for you. What is the email we should get in contact with if housing insecurity is a concern if we shut down again?
That would be dos@nccu.edu. And I just dropped it in the chat.
Ms. Matherson, coming for you again. Can we change our meal plans?
You absolutely can, unless you are an incoming freshman. That is a standard meal plan that all freshmen have. But if you are a sophomore, junior, or senior, you can change the meal plan using the meal plan link. I understand that someone mentioned that the link was not working right now, so we will have that up and running within 24 hours, and you'll be able to change it on the link.
And don't go anywhere, Ms. Matherson. Will NCCU Dining have delivery? Will we have to use Flex to receive it?
So at this time, we don't have delivery. We are working on the mobile ordering concept so that will be available, and you'll be able to order through your mobile device. That won't be available on August 4th, but we will have this fall semester mobile ordering, but that will also be for the student to come and pick up.
Thank you. So I'm going to throw this to Dr. Coleman, only because I think it's not necessarily this area, but it's a good question. If freshmen have concerns about living on campus during COVID-19, do they have the option to take classes online without living on campus in Durham?
Okay, so yeah, I answered that one in the chat. So if it's a freshman or sophomore, you should contact the University College, and I put the number in the chat. That is 530-6129. For any juniors or seniors, you should contact your academic advisors in your department, so in your specific major. But any freshmen or sophomores, you can go to University College, and that number again is 530-6129.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Oliver, I have a question in here for you. So I'll give you a quick second to unmute yourself. And the question is, will work study be available this semester?
Work study will not be available for the fall semester. It may be possibly available for the spring semester. In lieu of work study funds, we will be offering emergency assistance instead of work study for the fall semester.
Thank you, ma'am. If students, I'll throw this to Mr. Leach and Dr. Ross Alexander again, because I know it's kind of a combo question. If students were to prove circumstances to need single rooms, and what residence halls will be available, and how quickly will that transition happen?
So you don't have to necessarily prove to request a single room. That would be a housing thing if there's single rooms available. But if it's directly related to a medical condition, you would need to go through Student Accessibility Services, through Accommodate, and submit the paperwork and have that request vetted.
Anything you wanted to add to that, Mr. Leach, or are you good?
I think she nailed it.
Okay. Ms. Matherson, if we cancel housing and reside outside of North Carolina, will we still be required to get a meal plan?
Absolutely not. If you are not.
Can you speak up a little bit, ma'am?
Sure. You do not have to have a meal plan if you are not in housing and you are not in the state of North Carolina.
Thank you. Dr. Oliver, I think we have another one for you. When will the final fees be added to the e-bills so we know how much we owe, or will we be getting back?
Well, if the student has registered for classes for the fall semester, the tuition fees are posted. And if they have housing, those fees are on for housing and room and board as well. And Ms. Benson, you may wish to chime in on this question as well.
Great. Dr. Coleman, coming for you. If you're staying off campus, will everything, gym, cafe, libraries, etc., be available?
Yes, so I answered that. The student union, library, cafeterias, retail dining, which includes Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, Pizza Hut, etc., will all be available to students. But it's important for students to know, and parents, anyone else, we are following CDC recommendations as it relates to social distancing, capacity limits, as well as sanitation, hygiene, those things. So it'll look differently, particularly the dining hall, it'll be strictly to go, and some other modifications that, continuing students, it'll look a little different, but yes, it will be available to students. The campus rec center will also be available, but of course, again, capacity limits.
Okay, so this might be a combo question, and I'm thinking it's Mr. Leach, Ms. Matherson, and Dr. Oliver. The question is, can somebody explain how housing and refunds work, especially for a student that is considering staying off campus? Mr. Leach, could you kick it off with what the process is for housing to cancel?
Yes. So if you need to cancel housing, you can certainly send an email to residential_life@ncc.edu. Once we receive the cancellation and that's processed, it actually the system instead of turns it into a daily per diem rate, and so it kind of goes back to what was said earlier. Based on that, you would just be charged for the days that you reside in the hall. And then anything past that, it goes back into a refund if you don't have any other outstanding bills. And Dr. Oliver can certainly speak to that. But from a residential life standpoint, Once you submit the cancellation form and we process it, then it automatically adjusts your account on a housing standpoint, and then, for lack of a better word, another unit kind of deals with the rest of the refund or the amounts that are remaining. Dr. Oliver?
For the refund, if your charges, your tuition and fees, exceed the amount of financial aid that has been accepted or appears unauthorized at this time, you will qualify for a refund.
Okay. This is a thick question. It's got some layers to it. I'm gonna start with Mr. Leach. In the new housing contract emailed to us recently, it states we will not get refunds if the event comes that we will have to leave. And it also says if we do not sign it, we will not be able to move in. Is this true?
That's affirmative. So we are requesting that all of our students sign the amended contract, because we need to make sure that you understand everything that's going on at this point in time. Ms. Matheson, if you want to speak to the refund piece, if something pops off with where COVID forces us to go home again, I'll let you address that piece. But again, it is paramount that you sign that. You will not get a key until we get that signed document.
So we would still be operating under receiving advice from the UNC system as to how we would proceed with any type of refund if we find ourselves in the situation where we have to go fully online again. We're working really hard that doesn't happen, which is why we have the combination of online, hybrid, and in-person courses for this fall. But again, we would be guided by the system office, so that's not something that NCCU specifically can say today that yes or no.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Ross Alexander, question for you. Will there be COVID-19 testing available on campus?
Yes, there will be access to COVID-19 testing on campus for students.
Ms. Matheson, coming back to you again. Another question around refunds. This question is, if I'm not mistaken, the UNC system gave each institution the option to issue refunds individually. Will NCCU consider refunds if available to decide as an individual institution?
So the UNC system did not give system institutions an individual mandate that they could decide. We were provided information that allowed us to do housing and dining refunds for this past spring. And then after a certain date, we were instructed to follow our own policy guidelines as it related to parking refunds. So there the UNC system will not have one campus do and another campus not do. It'll all be the same thing. So it'll be a one size fit all, for lack of a better term, as it relates to refunds.
Okay, thank you. This is a good one. Mr. Hartfield, coming to you. Will there be additional help provided by NCCU to help students move their items into their residence hall, since only one helper is allowed to participate in moving?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, you will only be allowed your one helper to move in. However, we do want to reiterate that please optimize drop and go, because that's why we created, and definitely some situations like this. But you won't be allowed, you'll be allowed to have one helper, but unfortunately won't be providing additional help in order to practice social distancing. But with the bins and all that we will be providing, those will be sanitized, clean, and those will be at your assistance when you move in.
And don't go anywhere, Mr. Hartfield, to follow up. I have not received a confirmation email for my selected time to move in. Should I retry?
Yes, two things. Definitely retry, log into My Housing and check at the bottom to see if a time is popping up for you. I have had instances where students will select the time and they did, but it'll come up blank. So please check that first. And then if that doesn't work, email me, fhartfield@nccu.edu. That is in the chat, and I will work on getting that to you as soon as possible.
Thank you. And just to follow up to what Mr. Hartfield said about moving, again, we're trying to minimize the risk of spreading of COVID-19. We understand that historically moving has been a Super Bowl affair, is that what we call it, Mr. Leach? But due to the concerns about the pandemic, we cannot do that this time. We are encouraging students to minimize what they bring to campus for this first semester. So maybe you don't need to bring every comfort from home. Maybe you do not need to stop for the full Target or Walmart experience, shopping experience. We're encouraging everybody to take a minimalist approach to moving on campus this fall semester. There's another question in here, and I can handle this one. Is there a specific day for SOAR besides the modules? Yes, there are SOAR in-person activities that will take place once you move in on campus. For more information, you can contact the New Student and Family Programs Office at 919-530-6336. Again, that number is 919-530-6336. Mr. Hartfield, question for you. Can you clarify drop and go? Can I drop off and come back on move-in day?
So on drop and go, you are within that hour time frame, you are strictly moving in your items into that space. And so that is clearing up some of the anxiety and also some of the confusion that could come in on moving day when you're trying to move in all your things all at once. And so drop and go, you're just dropping off your items within the room. You're not receiving your room key and you're not there to stay that night. On moving day, you will come back. I'll still select an appointment time and then you officially move in with your key. But instead of carrying everything, you'll just be carrying what's with you, like it's your wallet, your phone, and you'll be able to just be in your space right then and there.
And Mr. Hartfield, can you go into a little bit more detail? Because I know some students may be concerned if I drop my stuff off, will it be secure? What does that process look like?
Sure. So the process works is that we'll have staff at the residential halls, and again, it will be contactless. And within the residential halls, drop and go will work that a staff will go up and unlock your door. And then right after you're done unlocking the door, and when you're done moving in your items, our staff will go back through and lock it. We also will have you all sign a contract, and that comes with the application when you all will see on My Housing, on my EOL. And then from there, we will make sure that your items are safe and your items are locked in within the residential hall.
Thank you, sir. I think I can pinch hit this one. Dr. Coleman, please correct me if I say something out of order. The question is, have schedules been adjusted to show who has online versus face-to-face? We just had the course delivery town hall last night. We're trying to get that video edited and make it available to you. So if you missed it, you can get all the details. However, the plan is to have all the courses updated by Monday. Forgetting what that date is, but whatever Monday is, that's the plan, to have that in there. And then between Monday and Wednesday, you can make your final decisions about whether you want to continue to stay on campus for the fall semester. Anything that I missed, Dr. Coleman?
No, that's correct. I put in the chat. So yes, by Monday, end of day is what Academic Affairs instructed me. So that's why we went ahead and moved our deadline to next Wednesday. So we want students, we want to be transparent, and we want you to have an opportunity to make informed decisions.
Okay, Ms. Estep, got one for you. Is visitation suspended even if we're in the same residence hall?
Yes, it is. It is suspended for students visiting each other in the room. Only students that are roommates or suite mates can visit each other.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Coleman, question for you. How could we obtain a parking pass?
So parking, I'll verify, but it looks like we actually moved everything online. So students can make the request online, and we still have the option for students to pay, up front if you want to pay. And I believe there's also an option, and Dr. Oliver can correct me, for students to pay via their financial aid.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you, Dr. Oliver. Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Mr. Hartfield, another room assignment question. Can we request someone else who also doesn't have a roommate right now?
At this time, our roommate matching and request system is offline. We are focusing on some of our students that don't have housing, and we are focusing on reopening the application process tomorrow.
Mr. Hartfield, question for you. Is there an opportunity to change roommates after move-in?
Yes, so the policy is that you could change roommates, or you could request a room change after the first 3 weeks of classes. Then you will go through a protocol within your community, within your residential hall, and we will work with what vacancies are available.
Got a good one for you, Mr. Leach. This is pertaining to the P3 project. Does Alston Avenue have their own kitchen in each room? Can the beds move, or are they attached to the wall? How big are the rooms?
Okay, so I was just typing something about Alston. So, you said Alston Avenue, correct?
Correct.
Alston Avenue is apartment style, and so I was responding to that in the chat. So I asked the difference between suite style and apartment style. So apartment style, if this came from a returning student, apartment style is like Eagle Landing. So if you've been in Eagle Landing, those are apartment style where you have a front door, and then you have 4-bedroom doors. So each student will have their own individual bedroom. And so most of them are 4-bed, all of the apartments in Alston Avenue are 4-bedroom, 2 baths. So 2 people will have to share a bathroom. The apartment style has a kitchen, and it has a living room as well, a suite. So that's the apartment style. The dimensions, I'm gonna have to put that out. I cannot put my hands on the dimension of those rooms at this particular time, but I will send that out to make sure everybody knows the dimensions of the specs of those rooms. And if I may,
For which one? Because I think I have those. For which apartment?
Alston Avenue.
The rooms, yeah. Okay, I think I have it here. Let me check.
Yeah, I have it somewhere. Thank you, Dr. Coleman. If I can just speak about,
I'm not making no promises, but I think I just saw it.
Oh yeah, okay. So if I can speak briefly about George Street, and that is
quickly, Mr. Leach. The other part of the question is: Can beds move, or are they attached to the wall?
Beds can be moved. Yes.
Okay. Now go ahead to George Street.
And George Street is, I think if you're a returner, I think the closest match maybe is Chitley. So, but except it's suite style. So you'll have one front door, and then you have 2 bedrooms that will house 2 students. Okay, and so the difference in that versus like a Chitley is that you'll have one station just has the toilet, one station has the double sink, and one station has the shower. So based on that setup, we shouldn't have students being late for class because everybody can use a certain portion of the part of the suite style at one time. So those are really nice too. So that's the main. It doesn't have a kitchen, but it doesn't have a single bedroom, 2 to a room, and 2 bedrooms within that suite.
Okay, so.
And I think what I saw, and I found it before for the rooms, I think it's 12 by 12. It's either 12 by 12 or 12 by 11. So
I will let the us know that when we was talking about this, we did a tour of a school in Georgia, and I was like, this would be too small for our students. So we made some modifications to the original drawings to help, with the comfort of our students that would live in those halls.
So Dr. Coleman and Mr. Leach, don't go anywhere. Question, how is social distancing with having a roommate under 6 feet away? Why? Wait a minute, how is it social distancing with having a roommate under 6 feet away? Why not have single rooms? Students feel unsafe with a roommate.
So the guidelines that we've been provided and that we've come up with as well is that any student, a roommate or a suite mate, is essentially your family unit. So that's why we're not allowing the room-to-room visitation, dorm-to-dorm visitation or res hall to res hall visitation, because that one other person in your room or those other people in your room, that is your unit. The reality, and we work these numbers, Mr. Clem knows this, and Mr. Leach and Ms. Matherson, when we started off with this process last spring, and we didn't have a lot of information. The reality is we don't have the inventory to allow every student to have a single. If we did do that, students and parents, there would be about 1,600 of you all that would not have any housing. That's the reality. We ran numbers, I'm just being transparent. We ran capacity at 70%, at 80% to see if we, gave everyone a single, and essentially there would be at least 1,600 students that would not be able to be housed.
All right. Anything you want to add to that, Mr. Leach?
I know. I think she nailed it. Other than she said dorm, but I called it.
I checked myself though. I said res.
Dr. Long, I'm just gonna get you in the mix a little bit. Do you have any additional information regarding the social distancing in residence halls and guidelines or information to help educate our students and potentially make them feel a little bit more safe about the situation?
No, I think Dr. Coleman handled it well. Like she said, we are following CDC guidelines that have been issued, by the federal government for all of the universities and colleges in the nation. And we're really more concerned about what's happening out in common areas. And again, like I've heard several times on this call, really reaching out to students and parents to get on board and realize the seriousness that we're dealing with here, and just make really good choices. So the best we can do is follow the CDC guidance at this point, and we're doing that, if not exceeding that.
And definitely, I'm going to pitch this next question to Dean Hartfield and Ms. Estep, but I definitely want to echo and repeat, this will only work if the students that are living on campus help us. We're going to put things in place to help you and to remind you to practice social distancing and to protect yourself and those around you. But if you do not act on that education, this will all be for naught. And we don't want to be in a situation where, we have to revisit the situation about evacuating campus like we did in the spring. We want everybody to stay on campus, have a great on-campus experience, and get a great education. And I'm gonna hit Dean Hartfield and Ms. Estep up with this next question. Since room and visitation is not allowed, what will be the penalty for students who do not comply?
Well, dear, as I said a little bit earlier, the safety, that's our responsibility. And so you have an option of what you would like to do. You have the option of, doing what's best for you. If you feel more comfortable with being able to have guests in a personal space, then I definitely want you to be in a space where you're able to do that, because campus right now is not that space. And anybody who chooses to violate that is communicating to us, to me, that you would like to go home or to not be on campus, because those rules have to be followed for your safety. So, you let me know what it is you would like to do, and your behavior and what you say and what you do communicate those things. So it's up to you, but my hope is that you choose to comply with the guidelines, as all of us have to do.
Dean Hartfield, I don't have anything else to add.
Thank you very much. Last question for the night. We've covered quite a few, and whatever questions we do not answer, we will do everything we can to follow up. Also, we will be posting this video on the NCCU Life YouTube channel. You can find us at bit.ly/askaneagle, all one word. We have the previous town hall already, the first town hall posted, and we'll have all subsequent town halls posted on that as well. The last question for the night, Mr. Hartfield or Mr. Leach, where do we find the housing contract?
If you're talking about the housing contract, once you initially sign, in your email, you will get a confirmation letter about your application. So that contract will be right there after you get the confirmation about your room assignment. Since everyone has got sent the contract, the new amended one, that would be the main one you would have to look at. That will be right in your email, and it's via DocuSign. And so all you have to do is log in and then put in your credentials and sign it, and you'll be able to you'll be able to come on the campus to move in.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. That will conclude the Q&A at this time. Just one shameless plug. We will have another town hall on July 28th, and that is a town hall for student engagement. We're going to be talking about what activities and how activities will be taking place here on campus, as well as how we are helping students and student organizations to make the most of their on-campus experience. So look out for that. There'll be more information coming. And with that said, I'm going to turn things over to Derek Stanfield for final remarks.
Once again, we just want to thank all our Eagles for joining us this evening. We hope that tonight has provided much clarity and reassurance regarding housing this fall semester. If you missed any of the responses and questions, please remember that they'll be posted on the NCCU Life YouTube page. If we did not get a chance to answer your question, please submit the question to ncculife@nccu.edu, and we will respond in a timely manner. Please continue to stay safe and to be vigilant in protecting the nest. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your evening.
You too.
Bye, students. Eagle Pride.